Alright, Shalom. First, I'd like to begin by giving all praises to Yahweh, Hashem Yahweh Shai, Hashem Akakodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Stone who ruled well. Citation to the men that push this word in sincerity and in truth. You know, about our word from James and that, I just get up this morning here. And I said, let's do a quick lesson. I was to do this lesson in a little while. But today is a good day to do it through the Spirit of the Lord. And this lesson is based off of Christmas and the Lady Day. Alright, so I'll read a few passages, because everybody right now is celebrating the Christmas and saying Happy Christmas and season's greetings, whatever the case might be, and yet they still don't understand that these things is pagan holidays. Right, so I will just go through this, a few of these scriptures here, notes. This is some good information. I haven't read the whole thing, but this is from the book of the two Babylons. So without further ado, I will just start with the first precept here. Book of Jeremiah, chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, Hear ye the word which Yahweh speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Right, and the house of Israel comprised of the Negroes, Latinos, and the native. Right, the Israelite, which is the northern tribe, and Judah is the southern tribe. Right? It says, Thus said Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Right, the signs of heaven. Right, because the Lord speak about these palm reading and these astrology reading and all these things, right, which is gazing at the reading at the constellations, whatever the case might be. It says, verse 3 says, For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest to work of the hands of the worksman with an axe. Right, and we know, hey, this is the Holy Bible. This is the Holy Bible, and every word in these books here is true. Every word of this book here is true. I'll leave it to the next precept here, Isaiah 34 and 16. It says, Seek ye out of the book of Yahweh and read. It says, No one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate. For my mouth had commanded, and the Spirit it had gathered them. So seek out of the book. And what book is that? That book is this Holy Bible. So the scriptures give a clear description of Christmas, basically. It says, For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with an axe. And a lot of people, when they tell them about this, they will tell you what. They will say they love the Christmas, they love whatever, it has bring joy to their heart, and that is something they're saying every year. Big people, big people who have children, who's older than I, it come like they come like these children, right? Because these people don't want to learn righteousness. Jakes don't want to learn righteousness. They don't want to know is right. They don't want to know what you telling them. So they from the book of two Babylons, right? It says If Rome be indeed the Babylon, well, we know Rome is not Babylon, of the apocalypse, and the Madonna enshrined in her sanctuary be the very Queen of Heaven, turn it this way, for the worshipping of whom the fierce anger of God has provoked against the Jews in the days of Jeremiah, it is of the last consequence that the fact should be established beyond all possibilities of doubt. For that being once established, everyone whom tremble at the words of God must sunder at the very thoughts of giving such a system, either individually or nationally, the least countenance of support. Something has been said already that goes far to prove the identity of Rome and Babylon system. Right, we know America is a Babylon, right? It says, but at every step, the evidence becomes still more overwhelming, that which arises from comparing the different festivals is peculiarly so. Right, so we're going to take here now. It says the festival of Rome are innumerable, but 5 of the most important may be singled out for elucidation: Christmas Day, Lady Day, Easter, the Nativity of John, and the Feast of the Assumption. So the Nativity of John also is a celebration in certain parts of the world. You know, these people will celebrate anything, right? This is on the festivity of the Assumption. Each of all of these can be proved to be Babylonian. And the first, as to the festival of honor of the birth of Christ, or Christmas. How come it that festival was connected with the 25th of December? These are not a word. There is not a word in the scripture about precise day of his birth, right? Or the time of the year when he was born. This is recorded there implies that at what time soever his birth took place, it cannot have been on the 25th of December, at the time that the angel announced his birth to the shepherds of Bethlehem. They were feeding their flocks by night in the open field. Now, no doubt, the climate of Palestine is not so severe as the climate of this country, but even there, though the heat of the day was considerable, the cool of the night from December to February is very piercing. So at that time, no baby can be in a manger, and in those timing, right? So that is one, basically that one cut. The place would have been temperature would have been too cold, right? It would have been too cold. It says it was not the customs of the shepherds of Judea to watch their flock in the open field later than about the end of October. Right, I would just skim through this real quick. It says Gill in commentary on Luke 2:8. as the following: there are two sorts of cattle with the Jews. They are the cattle of the house that lie in the city, the cattle of the wilderness are they that lie in the pasture, on which one of the commentators, Ma, Maya, Maya, Ma, Mon, I don't know how to pronounce that word. Observe these lies in the pasture, which are in the village all the days of the cold and heat, and do not go into the city until the rain descends. The first rain falls in the month of Marchvan, which answers to the latter part of our October and the former part of November, from whence it appears that Christ must be born before the middle of October, since the first rain was not yet come. Right? K2 on this Deuteronomy 11:14. Right, let me just jump. Right, to paragraph. Right, it says, it is in the last degree incredible that the birth of Christ could have taken place at the end of December. There is great unanimity among commentators on this point, besides Barnes, Dougridge, Lightfoot, Joseph, Seelger, and Jennings. In this Jewish antiquities, who are all opinions that December 25th could not be the right time of our Lord's nativity and celebrated. Joseph Mead pronounced a very decisive opinion on the same effect. After long and careful disquisition, on the subject, among other argument, he reduces the following. Right, it goes on and says, at the birth of Christ, every woman child was to go to be taxed at the city whereto they belong, whether some had long journey, but the middle of winter was not fitting, right? And it was winter time in that time for such a business, especially of woman with child, the children to travel in. Therefore Christ could not be born in the depths of winter again at that time of Christ's birth. It says the shepherds lay abroad watching with their flocks in the night time, but this was not likely to be in the middle of winter. And if any shall think the winter wind was not so extreme in these parts, let him remember the words of Christ in the gospel, pray that your flight be not in the winter. If the winter was so bad at that time to flee in, it seemed no fit time for shepherds to lie in the field and women and children to travel. Indeed, it is admitted by the most learned and candid writers of all parties that the day of the Lord's birth cannot be determined, and that with the Christian church no such festival as Christmas was ever heard of until the 3rd century, and that not till the 4th century was far advanced did it gain much observation. So in the 4th century Christmas, 3rd to the 4th century Christmas started to get a lot of forward as we go sit down here, right? They started to get a lot of forward. So this wasn't a customs of our foreparents, nation of Israel. No. Right? I could jump around a little, not to make the video a little bit too long, but just to get the points. It says Archdeacon Wood in Christian Annotator, Manual of Presbytery, right? It says Sir Peter King, who in his inquiry into the worship of the primitive church, it goes on, it says, infers that no such festival was observed in the church, and adds, it seems improbably that they should celebrate Christ's nativity when they disagree about the month and the day when Christ was born. Right? It says Luke, who admits that the time of Christ's birth is uncertain, although he observed the idea that the flocks could not have been in the open fields in December, right? By as appeal to Jacob's complaint to Laban by day, the drought consumed me, and the frost by night. Now the whole force of Jacob's complaint against his cruelish kinsman lay in this, that Laban made him do what no other man would have done, and therefore if he refers to the cold night as winter, which however is not the common understanding of the expression, it proves just the opposite of what it is brought by Mr. Ryle. Let me see. It says that it was not the customs of shepherds to tend their flock in the field by night in winter. Right? So we're going on. It says how then did the Romish Church fixed on December the 25th as Christmas Day? Why thus, long before the 4th century and long before Christian era itself, a festival was celebrated among the heathens? Right? Listen up. It says, at that precise time of the year, in honor of the birth of the son of the Babylonians, Queen of Heaven, and it may fairly be presumed that in order to consolidate the heathen and to swell the number of the nominal adherents of Christianity, the same festival was adopted by the Roman Church, giving it only the name of Christ. This tendency on the part of Christians to meet paganism halfway was very early developed, and we find Tertullian even in this day adopted even in this day about the year 230 bitterly lamented the inconsistency of the disciples of the inconsistency of the disciples of Christ in this respect, and constructed it with the strict fidelity of pagan on their own superstition, by us saying, he who are strangers to Sabbath and new moon and festivals once accepted um once pagan once acceptable to God. Read that over. It says, by us saying, he who are strangers to Sabbath and new moon and festival once acceptable to God, the Saturnalia, the feast of January, right? The Brunelia, we'll look up that word in a little while, and Matronelia are now frequented. Gifts are carried to and fro. New Year's Day presents are made with them, and sports and banquets are celebrated with uproar. Oh, how much more faithful are the heathens to their religion, who take special care to adopt no solemnly form of from the Christians. Upright men strive. So yeah, we tell you what Britannia, right? When you look up the word Britannia, it goes back to what? Britannia Winter Festival was an ancient Roman winter solstice festival honoring Saturn, Cronus, and Ceres, Demeter, and Bacchus in the Byzantine Empire. Back in the Byzantine Empire, I think it's the Byzantine Empire, yeah, right? Yeah. It says about the year 230 bitterly lamented the inconsistency of the disciples of Christ in this respect, and constructed it with the strict fidelity of the pagans on their own superstition, by us saying, he who are strangers to Sabbath and new moon and festival once acceptable to God, right? The new moons, the Sabbath was once acceptable unto the God. The Saturnalia, the feast of January, right? All these things that comprise these things, right? They comprise these things. They make these things seems as if it is a worship of the scriptures, right? It says the Christians. It says where do you reach? Right. It says and the banquets are celebrated with uproars. Oh, how much more faithful are the heathens of their religion, who take special care to adopt no solemnity from Christians. Upright men strive to stem the tide, but In the spite of all their efforts, the apostasy went on till the church, with the exception of all small remnant, was submerged under pagan superstition. The Christmas was originally a pagan festival. The Christmas was originally a pagan festival, is beyond all doubt the time of the year and the ceremony with which it is still celebrated prove its origin in Egypt. The son of Isis, the Egyptian title of the Queen of Heaven, was born at this very time, about the time of the winter solstice, the very name by which Christmas is probably known among ourselves. Yieldy proves at once its pagan and Babylonian origin. Yale or Yil is the Chaldean's name for an infant or a little child. And as the 25th of December was called by the pagan Anglo-Saxon ancestors Yule Day, or the Child's Day, and the night that preceded in Mother Night, long before they came in contact with Christianity, that sufficiently proves its real character. So right, have a whole lot of information on this paper here. I'm gonna switch.